Dr. Thema, so good to see you again.
Oh, so good to be back in conversation with you. I love every time we're able to connect.
Yes, me too. Oh, and we got some juicy content for today.
Yes.
We just briefly discussed right before we started recording how I just was actually a couple minutes late putting out a family fire.
Hmm.
And it's so timely that we're talking about love and relationships and not just
Yeah.
romantic relationships,
Hmm.
all of our relationships. So I'm going to let you start with your wisdom. Every time we're in
Yeah.
conversation, there's so many golden nuggets that come. And I want you to just share kind of your values when it comes to relationships and how you've been
Hmm.
able to maintain and grow your relationship.
Yeah. Yes, it is so important for me personally, and then, of course, with the people that I work with, to understand the necessity of mutuality and reciprocity. I think when you are a strong person and also when you have had to be independent, we can get used to really getting on the other side of that, which is the hyper independence. And so learning to lean, learning to allow people in a very real way, learning that you don't have to carry everything, and that with the real ones, you can trust them to help you carry it together. And as you mentioned from the outset, I mean that in every relationship, romantic, of course, but also in our friendship circles, to be intentional about connecting with people where you can unfold and be real and receive, and where you can also pour. So that is real relationship when the water flows both ways.
Right.
Yeah.
100%.
Yes.
And what I love is that it's fine when it's flowing. But what really I noticed this morning in my own growth and expansion in my family is that when there is emotional tension, that is an opportunity to grow. And
Hmm.
you can choose to walk away. That's everyone's
Yeah.
governed choice.
Hmm.
But that choice to lean in
Hmm.
can really, in my personal situation, dissolve years of visible emotional
Yeah.
tension. And so, can you
Yes.
speak on that a little bit? Because I still got,
Hmm.
and it was
Yes.
a profound message from God that
Yeah.
go ahead and speak on.
Right, absolutely. I appreciate you, and I'm feeling all of what you are carrying and feeling and sharing. And I think just as some people err on the side of staying too long, some of us stay on the side of cutting too quick. And so we can be quick to flee, to run, to eliminate because of our fears that where there's tension or conflict, I'm going to end up getting hurt. Or it's going to be a disaster. So we call that catastrophizing. So,
Mhm.
we feel that bit of tension and our mind has already gone ahead and it's World War III. And so it is healing for the nervous system and healing for our hearts to discover some ruptures are repairable, that there are places and times and with people where we can speak truth and the world not fall apart.
Mhm.
And sometimes we speak truth, things crumble, and then we rebuild, but maybe not build it the way it was, build something new.
Mhm.
So sometimes we're restoring old relationships, and sometimes we're coming together with people and saying, this old way actually never worked. But now, in the season of our lives we're in, let's build something new that can be fulfilling to both of us.
Mhm. Yes, 100%. And I
Yeah.
think that fulfilling to both of us is the key word that you said,
Hmm.
because whether you're conflict avoidant or not, I
Hmm.
feel like it affects both people.
Yeah.
Sometimes one party feels it more than the other. And I think
Right.
that can make it easier to walk away or be easy like,
Hmm.
okay, I'm done with them.
Yeah.
But how do you, in your opinion, really recommend that people address those tender situations where
Mm-hmm.
there has been a separation. And let's go
Yeah.
with family since we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
family now. I mean,
Yep.
we talk about romantic and you talk about
Mm-hmm.
romantic a lot, but I
Mm-hmm.
think family it's a bit different because you're
Yes.
your blood and you have
Yeah.
legacy and everybody
Right.
feels it. So it start affecting other relationships.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
how do you notice the tension as part of the tension and address
Uh-huh.
it? And also, how do you, as an outsider,
Right.
notice the tension and call people in? Or should you?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So, one, I want to say sometimes people are feeling it, but they don't show it in the way we show it.
Mm-hmm.
So those of us who are called to this work can be very tender-hearted, which is in general a beautiful thing. But when you're in communion with people who are in a more hardened place, you can feel that discrepancy, right? You can feel the difference of like, I'm feeling all of this and they're in total mask, right? Or they're totally shut down or they're totally disconnected, and recognizing one, some people's full story, most people's full story doesn't show on their face, right? So I have to allow myself to see that some people are performing, that like I don't care, it doesn't matter to me, and they keep trying to put it back on you, because often underneath that is very tender. And so, uh, or even some people's outrage is a cover or the armor to try to protect their tenderness. And so, uh, being able to try to read between the lines, to try to remain curious, to know that everything being directed at me is not about me. That, as you said, this stuff goes way back. So some people are responding to things that were years ago. You may be responding to things because, we show up with our history. We are not absent from context. And so, both people or all the people may be saying, "Oh, I know you." Right. And so I'm I'm responding based on the story I have about you. And a part of that story may be true, and a part of that story may be incomplete. And so trying to think about what is my goal or my aim here, because there are times where my goal is just to be heard and I'm just going to say my piece, and that's my closure, is I need to get some things off my chest. I need to speak it. Some people come into an exchange and they have some questions, and it's like my goal here is to understand like what in the world was that, like why. That's what I'm trying to figure out, is my why. Now I will say there are many times people can't give you a good answer to why,
Mm-hmm.
because we're just not always reasonable beings.
But I want to jump in and say sometimes people don't know. In my
Right.
case
Yeah.
specifically,
Yeah.
both people, myself and the other party, to be
Yeah.
transparent,
Yeah.
literally felt like the other person was intentionally detrimental. And in
Mm.
both cases,
Yeah.
both people were unintentionally detrimental. But intention doesn't equal impact.
Right.
So both
Right.
were impacted in
Mm-hmm.
different ways. And I feel like, and both were
Mm.
valid in their own.
Yes.
But the thing is, without leaning into that tension,
Mm-hmm.
we went years and years of the tension
Yes.
just building and building
Mm-hmm.
because of just different perspectives, you
Right.
know? And I want to
I.
look at those points where, because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times people from their perspective do believe they're right. Like we talk
Right.
about good
Yeah.
people. We're not talking about those
Mm-hmm.
manipulators and da 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 da
Yeah.
da. I'm talking
Yes.
about good people. We got people
Yeah.
out here, this cancel culture. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
they shifted and I drifted and we done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about let's talk to those good-hearted people.
Yeah, yes. I love that example, because it is often the case of misunderstanding, misinterpretation, misalignment. And in those moments, the importance of, can I trust your heart right? You're saying like these are good people. The heart of the person, even though something that was said or done didn't land right with me, right? And as you name, that's very different from how do I navigate the waters with people who historically and in the present continue to try to break my spirit, right?
Correct.
And so, can we give each other grace? Can we be curious? Can we recognize uh, that we may have two very different experiences of the same moment?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and that sometimes the way we read things, as you named, it's not that one person is right and one is wrong. Sometimes we just see the world differently and we see
Mm-hmm.
that moment differently. So, how liberating it is to then hear, like, what did you mean or what was your intention? And for me to express, like, I hear how that landed for you, and I need you to know in my heart of hearts, that is not what I was trying to do or not what I was trying to communicate. So, yeah, it's such a great example of the need for us to be open uh, and to recognize it can be a both and, right?
Yes.
That was hurtful, and there's more to the story.
At Ashe. Absolutely. And let's talk
Ashe.
about God, because
Yes.
the only way I got there was God. And
Yes.
I kept feeling this nudge, like God's been telling me, go deeper into your spiritual practice. Take you
Mm,
and your husband, go deeper, go
mm-hmm,
now, go deep now. Like not
mm-hmm.
the light stuff. No, you're gonna have
Yes.
to go into some wounding, go into some like
Yeah.
go now. It's just giving me full body chills. And I'm
Yes.
like, okay, okay. And even to get there, to the
Mm-hmm.
point of healing, I was literally shaking in tears this morning. So I don't want
Mm,
to sugarcoat that this stuff is
mm-hmm.
easy.
Yeah.
This
Thank you.
digging into deep family wounds.
Yeah.
Like I was in full tears, shaking, crying on my
Mm-hmm.
husband's shoulder. Like, I
Mm,
can't take this. I went
yeah.
through sacred rage of
Mm-hmm.
like, attack against me after the
Mm,
family
mm-hmm.
Zoom call,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
where is this coming from? Like, I'm only
Mm,
doing good. Like, where is this coming from? I'm
mm,
not understanding why I'm feeling this way, but
yeah.
I'm feeling it big. I
Mm-hmm.
was literally ready to walk away. And I just
Mm,
read one of my relationship mentors' book about marriage, but it
mm-hmm.
applied here. And
Ah.
I transitioned it because they said, um, Pastor Cal Robinson, in his book, Marriage Ain't for Punks, it
Mm-hmm.
said the relationship doesn't begin until you're ready to walk away.
Mm. Get in the
I've walked
fire. Mm,
identifier. I've
mm-hmm.
walked away before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when it's so much that you emotionally, physically, nervous system can't
Mm-hmm.
handle,
Yeah.
I was very valid and I
Mm-hmm.
respect my decision
Yeah.
years ago to
Yes.
walk away and take care of my
Mm-hmm.
mental health. I
Good.
100% love her, respect her, honor her.
Yeah.
And if she shows up again, I will honor her
Mm-hmm.
again when she
Yes.
needs to. But
Yeah.
I respect that. And I feel like in my growth and in my spiritual depth,
Mm-hmm.
spirit was allowing me to see that I'm stronger now. And maybe
Mm.
I can lean into some of that pain and
Yeah.
trauma
Mm-hmm.
for personal and generational healing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. These are really important points you're making. The first thing I want to go back to is that authentic spirituality gives us the capacity to go into the deep waters, including the deep waters of our emotions, instead of that spiritual bypassing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or that spiritual
I'm
required.
fine. God's got me. God's gonna handle
Yes,
me. God's
yes.
gonna handle me.
Right. So
Like,
right when I'm running, then I'm not really standing in my faith. So
mm-hmm.
I love your framing of the spiritual piece was so important and I was full body crying. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I was trembling because that's the truth where our faith has an encounter with our humanity,
Right.
right? It doesn't shut down our humanity. It is with us as we are going through that valley. And so, and what a blessing when that shows up in embodied form, that sometimes we can be the reflection of that source for each other. So, as you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about you and your husband and being held, the ways in which we don't shut down each other's truth. We don't shut down each other's fears. We don't shut down each other's tears or grieving, but that we can be a container. We can hold space for it, and from the depths of our spirits. And then the second piece I appreciate you naming is that seasons can shift because we shift and grow. So we don't have to put ourselves down for past decisions that, as you named, at this point in my life, I needed space from whoever it was. And I took the space and I honor that I gave that to myself because it was necessary. And I'm in a new season. I'm in a new place. I have a capacity I didn't have before. And so I can make a new decision. Sometimes, out of stubbornness or ego, we feel stuck following rules that no longer apply. And
Mhm.
so giving ourselves the freedom to reassess it, to evaluate it again of does this still feel right for me, feel true for me, feel present for me? And if not, I give myself permission to change my mind.
Ashe. I give
Yes.
myself permission to change my mind.
Yes.
And just to give a shout out from my husband,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
um, in us healing our relationship,
Mm-hmm.
which also took a deep dive
Mm-hmm.
recently
Yeah.
because of my own personal emotional overwhelm. And I've been
Yeah.
very clear with my community and, people that I'm with that my
Mm-hmm.
emotional well-being has always been the lowest because of trauma, because
Mm-hmm.
of childhood trauma. It's been the
Yeah.
area that I have needed most work. And
Yes.
being able to identify that and share that has
Mm-hmm.
been a very
Mm.
pivotal part in my healing. I think
Yes.
being able to name your vulnerability and
Right.
name your weakness, it can
Yes.
be looked at as a weakness, but I've
Mm-hmm.
now looked at it as vulnerability because
Mm-hmm.
it's a place in which I'm hurting and I
Yeah.
have a lot of trauma to heal. And
Yes.
every inch of that trauma,
Mm-hmm.
relationship, romantic,
Mm-hmm.
family, sisterhood, brotherhood, it's all
Mm-hmm.
valid, you know?
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
think if we give ourselves the time to say, my emotions are valid, and when I'm ready,
Mm-hmm.
I can look at each one.
Right.
I mean, don't
Yeah.
you think that's how we really heal?
It is. We heal in part in relationship. And I'm glad you're giving that example of, you know, you're relatively newly married, and the trauma history shows up because sometimes we have this idea of I'm going to either be rescued or I'm going to escape from the trauma of my past with love in my present. But that
Mhm,
stuff is still there. And it can give us a script, it gives us a worldview, it gives us a way of operating, which allowed you to survive some things. But the ways in which we survive difficult, hard waters is not the same way that we love, right? And so, of course, having to heal and learn that, which starts with the truth telling to ourselves first. And
mhm,
then, of course, as you named, to community, and of course to your partner, to be able to say that this is stretching me in some different ways. That my other way of surviving worked well for me as a single person, right? Because I could just be in my mode. But when you have people who are up close, physically, emotionally, spiritually, it's going to require some new growth.
mhm,
Yeah.
100%. Some new
Yeah.
growth. And I feel like, me being willing to lean into the
Mhm.
tough edges in my marriage and actually
Yes.
heal in my marriage.
Yeah.
When I hit this growth edge in my family, not
Mm.
only was my
Mm.
husband able to hold space for me, he was
Yeah.
able to hold space for my father and speak
Ah.
love to me. And I want
Mm.
to talk about that, how we can hold spiritual space. So
Yeah.
before we even got on the
Yeah.
call, my husband, because
Yeah.
of actually what I shared with him through my methodology and teaching and
Yeah.
transformation and letter writing. So what I
Mm.
poured into him, he
Mm-hmm. You
poured back
poured.
into me
Mm-hmm.
and held space as
Yeah.
my father and said, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I am sorry for
Mm.
how I've treated you. I'm not, and him
Mm-hmm.
holding space in that way,
Mm-hmm.
if you trace it all the way back, was beginning of me feeling safe to
Mm.
even address it
Yeah.
with my father,
Yes.
you
And
know?
I love that you were able to receive it, because it is
Mhm.
different to receive it than to teach it, right?
Right.
You're like, oh yeah, I can talk about this all the time, but when that thing hits close to home,
Woo.
that will, oh my goodness. So, definitely shout out to him for the ways in which he poured it, and shouting out and blessings to you that you were able to receive it.
Ashe. Ashe.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
even to be vulnerable, again, my
right.
challenge for this year is
Yeah.
vulnerability. And I
Mm,
think it's very hard as a leader because
mm-hmm.
we want to show up after we've figured it out,
Right.
after we
Yeah.
have all the notes,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But my challenge of vulnerability is
Yeah.
challenging myself to for people who've been enjoying my journey for
Right.
the last 20 years to
Yeah.
enjoy some things as I'm figuring them out. So it's
Yes.
this after it's done, I
Right.
think people, well, I know, and I've seen
Mm-hmm.
how
Appreciate.
me when people
Yes.
are vulnerable and they figure it out together because there is strength in
Mm-hmm.
surrender and really, really what it really means
Right. Yes.
after it's done to really trust and surrender to God's
Mm-hmm.
calling on your life. And what does that even look like? To say it after
Right.
you're done is not really showing people how you was
Yeah.
feeling
Yeah.
when you were in it, because it's
Yes.
different, right?
Right. And I want to say, acknowledging that we don't have it all perfectly together keeps us compassionate and keeps us in a place of humility. I
Mhm.
think people who are like, self-appointed gurus are, sitting on high saying like, just do it, not really owning the fact that there's no just in it. Like this is a difficult dance that we engage in. And when I'm mindful of that from my own experience, I think it makes you a better teacher because you can talk about the hard spots, the difficult spots, what to do when it's complicated or messy or nuanced, and when sometimes you just have to be still until you can see like what's the next step. So what a gift, as you say this, the transparency, leaning into it. And it also, to me, it keeps us teachable so then we can always grow and learn, right?
Mhm.
Once we have it, think like, oh, I have it all down, then I have cut off my growth when I think I know everything.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so true. And I feel like, again, to bring up your book, really coming home to yourself is
Hmm.
that homecoming
Yeah.
is being willing to self reflect. Like, that's what I feel like I mean, you had a lot
Hmm.
of messages, but the
Yeah.
one that really stuck with me in all these different stories was like, at the end of the day, you cannot say what anybody else's reality is. You can
Hmm.
only be true to your own. And when you come home to yourself, to me, that means being able to reflect on your own emotions. And again,
Hmm.
not have to be right, but to be
Yeah.
real about
Yes.
the anger, the rage, the happiness,
Yeah.
all of it.
Right, right. There is freedom in our realness, and the realness is a prerequisite. It is required for our healing, right? I cannot heal if I'm lying to myself.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Like I'm saying I'm okay when I know deep
Right,
down I'm
right. I'm
hurting. My
not.
heart is breaking.
Yes, yes.
Woo.
Oh, I love that. So you all had that. Well, you had the pre, if we break it down to steps, you had the pre-connection with your husband,
Mhm.
and or that was before or after the difficult conversation.
Before.
Okay, right. So you had the pre, and that's a great message for people when sometimes you don't know confrontation is coming, but when you're about to have one of these like difficult dialogues, difficult conversations, to root and ground yourself spiritually, to connect with whoever is in your support system, so that you don't go in that place just in desperation, but having some things poured in and watered and nourished so then I can go forward in truth.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you
Yeah.
called that out because you were
Yeah.
one of my lifelines
Ah,
when
thank
I
you.
was, really going through some challenges,
Yeah.
being a newlywed and also
Hmm.
dealing with transition of my mom and just feeling
Yeah.
overwhelmed, You were definitely one of my angels. And I
Mm,
will say, I want to call this out because I've never had it so powerful in my life. You
yeah.
know, the people that I was able to reach out to with
Hmm.
couples. And that's why I feel like community is so important,
Yes.
and deep
Yes.
friendships and relationships, because I will say I've
Hmm.
been supported in the most challenging year of my life. I will no
Mm,
longer say worse. It's the
mm.
most challenging. And
Yeah.
in dealing with these challenges, I have become the strongest version of myself that I
Mm,
have ever seen. But let me tell
ah,
you,
yeah.
sometimes I felt like the weakest me, you know? So
Yes.
can you
Yes.
do that deep work?
Right. And that's not by accident in our broken places. You know, there's something called post-traumatic growth,
Mm,
right?
mm,
That we often think about the post-traumatic stress, but in the
right.
aftermath of the breaking, we discover our strength in new ways. We look at and approach relationships differently. We gain some new wisdom and knowledge. Our spirituality can go in a different place. Now, it's important that we recognize that's as a result of the work that we're putting in.
Mhm.
So we credit that, not the trauma, right? Because
Right.
sometimes people will say, "Oh, I'm glad this terrible thing happened. It made me strong." Well, there are people who went through that who did not recover, right? So we
Right.
don't just credit the trauma itself or the loss itself, but my processing through it that I discovered some new strength in that journey.
Yes, I
Yeah.
agree with you 100% of that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not calling for a thank you for any challenge I experienced. Because one, I don't
Yes.
want to experience it again, and I'm a
Right.
powerful manifester. Like, I don't
Yes.
need that lesson again. I think I know.
You're like, I got it. I got it.
But no, I think you calling that out is very important, because I do
Yeah.
believe in metaphysics and in
Mhm.
energetics, and that when you start thinking every challenge and every shortcoming, um, are we telling the world we need more of
Mhm.
them to grow? I
Right.
think acknowledging,
Hmm.
like you mentioned, if I'm
Yeah.
quoting you right,
Yeah.
acknowledging it without thinking or even feeling like it's necessary for your growth
Right.
and expansion is really important. And I think
Yes.
some people can get those,
Hmm.
you know,
Yes. Get it mixed up, get it twisted.
yeah.
And to as a dear mentor and friend, Dr. Gloria White Hammond says, when we frame it that way, then we turn molesters into angels.
Mm,
Right? So
yeah, we're not
that
doing
is
that.
not what we're trying to articulate.
Mm-mm. Nope.
So it is that, there were some things that broke our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
And with our internal and external supports and resources, some of us were able to navigate through that in ways where we can say, I have grown and I'm not only surviving, but now here's the part in the relationship and relationship with myself, but thriving, flourishing, blooming. But it's not without struggle. That it wasn't an easy road. But thank goodness for the testimony to say it's possible. So it's like, could you have grief and a new marriage and family dynamics and still have some authentic joy?
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Right.
love that you said that. Like, authentic joy, I
Hmm.
think you can experience when you're being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
So even in
Yeah.
the midst of grief and in the midst of
Hmm.
these very big challenges, I think being honest with myself, with I'm doing the best that I can, I'm leaning
Yes.
where I can, I'm creating boundaries where I can.
Right.
I think it has helped me experience pockets
Hmm.
of joy during the process.
Right.
And
And
I
I
think
love you saying pockets of joy because another piece of this is that the joy and the growth can coexist with the despair and the grief. Right? It
Mhm.
doesn't wipe it away. You're
Right.
still gonna miss your mom, but also have these pockets of joy. Yeah.
Yes. I love that you said that, because it is all encompassing, like all of our
Hmm.
emotions and feelings. I just made a post the other day. I got this divine download, and it's been said a lot of times in many different ways, but emotions are energy in motion. And when we look at emotions as energy versus identifying them with who we are, like I am sad, I am
Hmm.
angry, but if we identify as an energy of I'm experiencing sacred rage, I'm
Hmm.
experiencing joy,
Yeah.
I'm experiencing, and if we talk as it of it as energy, I think that will
Mm.
help us as a community, really
Mm-hmm.
separate ourselves from our emotions and be able to transmute them into love is if we're not
Mm-hmm.
identifying ourselves or even other
Yeah.
people as what
Yes.
you're experiencing from them.
Right. That as human beings, we want to have access to the full range of emotions.
Mhm.
And many times we ourselves or other people get boxed in of that's the angry one,
Right,
right? Right. And then that overshadows what they're even angry about, right? We
right.
just dismiss them as the one who's angry. Well, why? And let's get curious about that and what else? And what could be helpful in that alchemizing, not just telling them to get over it, but like what needs to happen in our community or in our family to address the roots of that anger.
Yes, I share, and I'm glad you called that out, like asking why and asking the
Yeah.
question. Because I will say, I created a lifestyle design coaching certification
Hmm.
for my community. They
Yeah.
have been asking for it. And I was like, okay, I'm ready to do this
Hmm.
because I'm also feeling the spiritual alignment to do it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, now, even now, I'm in the middle of kind
Uh,
of, but it came up that it was going to be
ah.
short and intentional, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I created it with my knowledge. And I had
Hmm.
7 people. I call them the Sacred Seven, my first
Hmm.
founding coaches for this certification. Little did I know it
Hmm.
was going to bless me just as much as it
Ah.
blessed every single, because I
Ah.
dissolved all of my knowledge down into the certification. And it
Mhm.
got me, not only my thing is like, you're always going to
Mhm.
start coaching on day two, practicing on day two.
Mhm.
But what was I
Mhm.
doing? Also practicing, also
Yeah.
refreshing my
Right.
knowledge.
Yeah.
So in the
Yeah.
conversation
Mhm.
with my family member, I was able to, when they started experiencing frustration after I regulated with my husband, I
Mhm.
was able to ask questions, not to
Mhm.
fawn, not to
Mhm.
be emotionally triggered and just journal, which is
Mhm.
what I did on the actual call. But
Mhm.
no, spirit was like, this can be dissolved now.
Yeah.
And so
Yes.
as I started to question, I
Mm.
realized that you're doing the work.
Mm.
You're doing the work as a coach, not as a
Mhm.
family member in this point.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
You're actually holding space. You're not,
Mm.
and at that moment, because I'd regulated, I
Mhm.
wasn't overwhelmed by my own emotions.
Mhm.
I was in executive state enough to
Mhm.
hold space for the emotions of
Mhm.
my family member. And doing that, they were able to
Mm.
reveal
Mhm.
where they were hurt.
Yes. I love the both and because I
Mm-hmm.
think, you held space for your family. But as you described, you also got to have your space. And I
Yes.
think many times we do the either or. Either we get lost in our stuff and then aren't able to relate or connect or communicate with people, or as you were describing, like we become the coach, the facilitator, the holder, the strong one, and we never got to have our moment, our season, our needs met. And so what a beautiful example of, when the tears are necessary, when the trembling comes, like I make room for all of that. And I'm able to hold space in relationships for us to have those challenging moments and work through them.
I
Yeah.
share. That is
Yeah.
so true. And I think
Right.
the key thing that I wanted everyone to get of what I'm sharing and what
Mhm.
you're sharing is that that self-healing and self-reflection fills your cup, right? Like I feel
Mhm.
like how important is it in your opinion that people do the self-work before they approach tender
Mhm.
conversations as the ones we're talking about? Because I think
Yeah.
even if someone's like, yeah, I want to do that, I think there's some
Mhm.
vulnerability in times where it doesn't feel
Right.
safe. So how do they
Yes.
navigate? I want to dissolve this,
Mhm.
but ouch.
Right. Yeah. We do need to root and ground and nourish ourselves, whether journaling, talking to people, so that I can have some clarity. Because sometimes we can go in when we're overwhelmed and it stirs things up more, right? That it creates more harm, more offense, because, we're both in this heightened place. And so it doesn't, I don't want to perpetually be suppressed. So let me, give myself the room, as you're saying, for the reflection, for the feeling, for getting clear about like, what do I feel? What do I think about that? Why is that? What's the root of that? And, what would I like to happen in this moment? And how do I want to show up? Right? Not just what do I want, but, can I have a heart to hear where people are? Because it could be very different from where I am. So yes, that's a beautiful, beautiful process. And I also want to name, that, you created this program and then described as you were doing the training program that it was also healing to you. And it's one of the beautiful things of when we're flowing in purpose.
Mm,
It's not just draining, it's not just emptying, that when I'm flowing in purpose, my purposeful living also feeds me. So
mm.
I love that.
Okay.
Yes.
It's so true. When we
Right.
when we are walking in purpose, we are
Yeah.
nurturing ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
others. Healing
Right.
yourself automatically heals others because they just
Yes.
experience a healed, if nothing else, then them just experience a more healed version of you.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
Beautiful.
I just love it. I just feel like there's
Ah.
so many great things, and you have so many
Mhm.
incredible offerings.
Mhm.
And I guess now I want to go into, like, I know you've recently been doing a lot of events, and
Yes.
I want you to share like how it feels, in your personal when it comes to partnership and
Mhm.
sharing, because I know you have very healthy boundaries, because we've talked about it,
Mhm.
and I've
Yeah.
seen how you have kind of taken your time and
Yeah.
paced yourself in your own
Mhm.
relationship, and also with relationship and working together. And so can you
Yes.
kind of talk about that a little bit? And
Right, absolutely. It has been such a beautiful, beautiful journey for me, and a term that was recently used to talk about my partner and I, my dear friend Reverend Najuma, used the phrase purposeful partnership.
mm,
And I love that. And I see that for the two of you as well is, when you're in flow, when you are in alignment, that your partnerships, your relationships can maximize your purpose.
mhm,
uh, can you can support each other in your dreams coming true in the manifestation, as opposed to sometimes in relationships they are taking you out of alignment with your purpose. They can create so much confusion or despair in your life that it can also be like a spiritual attack on who you are meant to be. And so it is such a gift and a wonderful thing. And I will say, especially as women, because sometimes as women, we can, whether from family or society or culture, be given the message that you're supposed to shrink or be small, or remove your dreams and, put your partner's dreams in the forefront. And so that messaging often presents it as if you are a big dreamer, or if you are a big visionary, then you are destined to be alone. And
mm,
that's not true. And it is meant to convince women to walk out of their gifting, right? To believe the lie that you have to choose your full radiance or love, right? Which one do you
mm,
want?
right.
And it reminds me of when I was in college, years and years ago. And I came home for a break, and my dad was so proud, and he was bragging to one of his friends, and he said, "Oh, Tama went off to Duke and made the dean's list or whatever it was, for my grades." And his friend, male friend, without hesitation said, "How's she gonna get a man like that?"
Mm.
I
Ooh.
was so startled, right? I was
Oh.
like, that is the response to excellence,
Mm,
right? You got A's, so now you have disqualified yourself.
mm,
And so what a shame for that lie to be told, that somehow your giftings would disqualify you. So I want to let people know who are watching, if you have been shrinking yourself, censoring yourself, playing yourself small to be acceptable, that when you are in the presence of the right ones, you'll shine brighter. The right ones will celebrate and rejoice in your wins and will help you to soar even higher. So I'm grateful to be in a season of my life where that's not just like a theory or a hope,
Mm.
but a reality. So I can say that's real, like for real.
Yes. And it's so beautiful to see your
Ah,
realness, your love, your
ah,
partnership.
thank
It's
you.
beautiful to see you all in community working purposely for get together because I
Yeah.
feel that that's very rare these days.
Hmm.
And so I want to talk a little bit about purposeful partnership
Yeah.
and what it means. Like, what are the values that you've had to cultivate to
Hmm.
maintain a purposeful partnership?
Yeah. So, for purposeful partnership, we have to first really hear each other. And that also means that we want to be clear in our expressions of our dreams because sometimes in your singlehood and then the other dynamic I mentioned around gender, you can learn how to keep your dreams close to your chest, right? So it's like, don't speak it. That might sabotage it or that might mess it up. But in order for us to really flow together, like to speak from your heart, like what is it you really desire, right? What do you want? What makes you come alive? And then also sharing, our fears and anxieties, right? For both people to say like, what are my concerns and what is the vision that I have been given for my own life. And I want to say that the way the partnership flows will vary depending on your giftings. So, we do a lot of things, I would say, like openly together, but I have another good, dear sister friend where her husband is like a tech person. So he's got the sound right, he's got the lighting, like he's doing those things behind the scene, and that's purposeful partnership. So it's not always that you're doing the same thing,
Mhm.
but it can complement each other or taking care of other tasks so that you can do the task that needs to be done. So communicating those needs, and then I want to also say like letting people help you because again, if you're used to like being a one woman show, like you're
Mm.
like, I got it, I got it, I got it. And so like so that requires like a trusting, right? A releasing, a letting go to allow yourself to be helped and supported. And it also requires, along with that trust, I'm going to say a respect for the other person's capacity to see for you, right? Like when you were saying that conversation with your husband and he was able to speak some things that in the moment with your overwhelm, you couldn't really see it until he said it. And so when I can trust and respect this person, then I'm open to the feedback, knowing it's going to help us to be better.
Yes. Oh, I
Yeah.
just love that. And I love specifically how you mentioned the purposeful partnership can look different ways.
Right,
You know,
right.
because I think some
Yeah.
people might see like, oh, okay, oh, that looks really, you might see on
Mm-hmm.
social or you might
Right.
see them in public and think,
Mm-hmm.
oh, they have a healthy relationship. I want my relationship to look the
Right.
same. Well, your
Right.
purposeful partnership might look
Yeah.
different than mine and yours. So
Yes.
I'm glad you called that out
Right.
because
Right.
like you said, all of the ways are purposeful
Mm-hmm.
partnership. But the most important thing, if I heard you correctly, was that
Yeah.
you communicate and you decide
Right.
what is your purpose and how
Yes.
does that come forth in this season. And I
Mm-hmm.
always also want to talk to you about seasons when it comes to relationship because I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of people expect people to stay the same over
Yeah.
time. And what
Right.
I've known in my what I've seen in my own maturity is that the only constant thing in life is change and
That's right.
growth. So
Yeah.
how do you deal with maybe they have had a purposeful partnership where one of them
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
behind the scene for quite some time. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe now they've gained confidence and they're ready to come out
Mm-hmm.
to the light. And there's
Mm-hmm.
kind of a like, well, wait a minute,
Right.
why are
You
you trying to
changing the
change?
rules,
Right.
right?
Can you speak to this? Because I do see a
Yeah.
lot of beautiful
Right.
couples
Yeah.
breaking in a period of seasonal change for one or
Mm-hmm.
both or the other. So can you speak to
Mm-hmm.
this very uncomfortable transition?
Yes. Yeah. This is so important. And I'll say one, like it gets to an earlier point of like, can I trust the heart of the person?
Mm,
Right? So if I trust your heart, now the dynamics, the agenda, the percentage, the way that this plays itself out may start to look different, but I don't have to panic of like, what does this mean? Right? So I don't want to misinterpret it as it being something against me when it may be, as you're saying, they're flourishing or blooming or discovering different interests. And, we are affected for the good and bad by our environment. So a part of that shifting may be, we desired something, but then as it played out, it ended up not being what people thought it was going to be. Right.
right.
So what we said of people have the right to change their mind. So they may have said, oh, in this season, what I really liked to do was hold down the home front. And, because I was holding the house down, like you could go and do all these things. And they may do that for a while, could have enjoyed it, and now are like, I want to get out of the house, right? Or like, I
Yeah.
want to, do either something with you or I want to do some of my own thing. And so when I trust the heart of the person, then I can be open to what is this new thing going to look like and not in an interrogation. Because I have seen that with couples as well, where somebody gets a new vision and like it just gets attacked and dismantled. So I want to remain curious about it, open about it, and to mirror their excitement because something about it is exciting them. And
Mhm.
so, let's explore that.
Yes. I'll
Yeah.
say, oh, this is
Yeah.
so good. I just think it's so important. And I feel like when you do agree to a healthy relationship and that relationship is growing, it's
Mhm.
gonna change and people are
Yes.
gonna change. And as I do see a lot of them breaking, but I do see the ones that do flourish
Hmm.
through that change. And it's really, really beautiful to watch.
Right.
When one person becomes a higher version of themselves in a
Yes.
relationship where the partner
Hmm.
was most of the time, like
Hmm.
probably like 10, 20 years of their relationship,
Hmm.
been more at their highest self. And again,
Right.
everyone is purposeful in this partnership,
Yeah.
but those different versions of ourselves looks
Right.
different, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
I think we
And I
don't
want
speak
to
to it
say,
enough.
you know, that it can be a credit to the relationship when people start to express their needs. So
Mhm.
there may be new needs, or they may have needs that they didn't feel safe or comfortable enough yet expressing. So
Right.
then once they share that, to take it as a gift of like, now I know what's been kind of percolating in their spirit. So let's figure out what to do with that.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. I just think this conversation is gonna bless so many
Ah,
people. And y'all, Dr. Tama's offerings are gonna be included with this video, her book, and just everything you have put out. Like I've inhaled it. It has blessed my life. Your sisterhood has blessed my life.
oh.
Your new partnership has it's blessing my life. I just caught up on social the other day and I'm
Yeah. Oh, thank you. It is mutual. I have so much love and appreciation for you from the beginning. I'm trying to remember what was the first year.
like,
Well,
no,
I know it's
we
been a
gotta look
couple of,
back in our
I
notes.
know, get our history.
Yeah.
Oh, but thank you so much for being you and for being who you are, both, publicly in your sharings, but also who you are personally. And it's such a gift.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And thank all of you all listening. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's just such a pleasure to have you as part of this community. Your voice matters, your challenges matter. Don't be afraid to share them with us because we're here to guide along with you as we grow and expand ourselves. So until next time, love yourself, love others in that order. one day at a time, one breath at a time. Peace and love.